situation. But I do see repeatedly examples that there are key members in the administration, like Eric Holder, for example, the Attorney General, who still insist on thinking of terror attacks against the United States as criminal acts as opposed to acts of war, and that's a huge distinction.
Okay, before we get to Eric Holder, a couple more things from the Vice President. He's been out responding preemptively to you. One thing that he said, we heard in the open, that he believes Iraq may ultimately prove to be one of the greatest achievements of the Obama administration.
Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised by my friend Joe Biden. I'm glad he now believes Iraq is a success. Of course, Biden and Obama and Biden campaigned from one end of the country to the other for 2 years, criticizing our Iraq policy. They opposed the surge that was absolutely crucial to getting to the point we're at now with respect to Iraq. For them to try to take credit for what's happened in Iraq strikes me as a little strange. I think if they had had their way, if we'd followed the policies they pursued from the outset or advocated from the outset, Saddam Hussein would still be in power in Baghdad today. So if they're going to take credit for it, fair enough for what they've done while they're there, but it ought to go with a healthy dose of thank you, George Bush, up front, and a recognition that some of their early recommendations with respect to prosecuting that war were just dead wrong.
Well, in fact, Vice President Biden says that he believes that the war in Iraq was not worth it. What do you say to that? I mean, given the resources that were drawn away from the what you could argue is the Central Front in Afghanistan, Pakistan, is he right about that?
No. I believe very deeply in the proposition that what we did in Iraq was the right thing to do. It was hard to do. It took a long time. There were significant costs involved. But we got rid of one of the worst dictators of the 20th century. We took down his government, a man who'd produced and used weapons of mass destruction, a man who'd started 2 different wars, a man who had a relationship with terror. We're going to have a democracy in Iraq today. We do today. They're going to have another free election this March. This has been an enormous achievement from the standpoint of peace and stability in the Middle East and ending a threat to the United States. As I say, Joe Biden doesn't believe that. Joe Biden wants to take credit, I'm not sure for what, since he opposed that policy pretty much from the outset.
I think what he wants to take credit for is taking resources out of Iraq. The fact
that's being done in accordance with the timetable that we initiated, that we negotiated with the Iraqis. I mean, that was our policy.